Okay, welcome back to the Founders Table. This is where we sit down with leaders building America's backbone industries. Today, I'm joined by Marc Interial, President of Growth and Development at Process Technical Services. With decades of experience in the oil and energy industry, Marc has overseen everything from project management, operations to strategy and business development. He also serves on the TLIM Technology Division Board at the University of Houston, helping shape the next generation of leaders. So I'm very, very excited to have him dive into his career, leadership philosophy, and just the lessons he's learned along the way. Marc, thank you for coming onto the podcast. To start things off, I'd love to just start with like your background and leadership journey. So you've had an impressive career path starting in technical and project management roles, and then moving into senior leadership positions. What first motivated you to pursue leadership to begin with?
I don't think I really was motivated or that was my goal was to get into leadership. I started at the bottom. Document control is an entry position straight out of the military. I worked at Floor Daniel. I did that for maybe about 10 years. Then I was pulled into the training department. It was when I was in the training department as a developer that I realized, we could probably do this a bit better. I saw technical experts would verbatim read the manuals, and poor guys, gals in the audience, 15 people deep, were falling asleep. And I just thought, man, there's something we can do. So I discovered that we had a program at University of Houston that taught training and development, needs assessments, and all kinds of other things. So I had a bunch of hodgepodge of courses. I thought I wanted to be a network person. I thought I wanted to do this. So I went to Lone Star. I said, look, I want to get into this master's program. What can I do to get my classes and get there quick? So I had to get an Associate's of Arts. I had to get a bachelor's in interdisciplinary from U of H. Long story short, I got the training and development program master's, and then I decided to do a dual major in project management. And then while I was at work, they decided, well, let's make this guy a PMP. So so they made me a PMP, and they took me from a training developer to a project manager. I was the youngest project manager, and I got dumped on all the bad jobs. So I had to learn how to fix things, how to get things done right. And really, I became more of a manager. It was never that I wanted it. It really originated from trying to teach people an effective way to transfer knowledge. So that was my goal initially. Everything else just kind of fell out of that.
Okay, and that kind of dug into my next question. I was going to ask, and maybe that was the defining moment. My next question was going to be, was there a defining moment that set you on path to overseeing growth and development at PTS?
At PTS, really, I started here as a manager. I've never been a salesperson. I've never claimed to be a growth and development. I was always more a non-technical leader, so I would have to depend on technical people to execute projects, which was good. I didn't get in the way of other people by trying to contradict them. I just always respected people that were older and wiser than me, but I was good at getting things done. So that's how I got into management. But coming here, this was kind of later on in my career after I've done that, traveled the world, been at corporate, been at huge companies with 4 billion a year in revenue, 40,000 people. It seemed like it was just a hustle. But coming here, it was more family and they were more archaic, I guess. It was kind of slowed down. So I
Mhm.
saw the opportunity to really focus outside of management, but let me try to grow it and let other people do the management. So I kind of fell into it. So that's how I didn't ask nobody. I just started kind of doing it. And here I am, just focusing on getting sales and revenue. And then I pass it on to someone else to execute.
Okay, very cool. So how has your background, I guess, in technology and human resource development, has that influenced your leadership style at all?
Well, most definitely, because well, not only the HRD, the human resource development, but the project management. I think it helped me in finding ways to transfer knowledge effectively. To do a needs assessment, whether it's something short in your mind, or understand that training just isn't about putting people through a course. It's really whether it's organizational development, changing the environment, or the course or the instructor, but also on the project management, it's the leadership style that was probably the most effective for, is, not being an authoritarian or a know-it-all, but being more, like Christ taught us to be submissive and be subservient. Really understand your people, see their needs, help them develop and grow. That in my mind is true leadership. And in addition to showing, not showing or verbalize, but I mean showing what a leader is, whether that means I'm the first one in, last one out. I work twice as hard as everybody else, or I ask somebody to do something that maybe I've done before, and it's a growth path. It isn't because I'm being a butthead or I don't want to do it. So yeah, that's the curriculum helped me out, whether I knew it or not. Just like when I was a kid doing math, I didn't know why I did it, but later on in life, I realized, there's some pluses to it. Maybe not all of it, but
Right.
some of it.
Right. So that sparked a spontaneous question off my head. So because I'm a big believer in, obviously, and I'm sure you are as well, that a business is nothing without its workforce, its people that are behind it. So you have to have a good workforce, you have to have a good culture, you have to have people that care, and that goes all the way up to the leadership in that sense. So I was curious, have you noticed, or I guess maybe from just your years of experience, do you typically see an authoritarian style leadership in like other companies and whatnot that kind of really push you to be like, this is definitely not the way to do it? You have to be more of a servant towards your workforce.
I've seen a little bit of everything, not by choice, just that's just what happened. In
Hmm.
my case, I saw it more effective if my goal is to try to get the most out of the people that work with me. I don't say below me or anything like that, but the people with me, that subservient, that taking care of their needs, getting to know them is probably the most effective way. Authoritarian works. I mean, I went to the military. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be who I am now. It wasn't subservient at all. It was you do this or we set you back a week or
Hmm.
so we needed that to get the quick training to get what we needed so we get that foundation. So I can't say that doesn't work because it did, but more in civilian world, I find that if you truly get the right people that have the same mindset that do care and they're not trying to get one over on you, that's a start. And then if you show them, look, I'm here for your growth. I'm trying to make you better. They'll give you 10 times, 20 times more than you could ever pay that person.
Hmm.
So, especially for a small business, if you have minimal resources, if you can get those type of people, I wouldn't be surprised if you don't have them through your entire business and just kind of all grow together. If that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah. No, 100% agree. I think, and like I said before, I think workforce is super important, and I think more companies are realizing as well that you have to take care of the people that are in it, and you have to show that you care, especially if you want to have any sort of longevity as a business. But for the listeners who may not know, can you give us a quick overview of what Process Technical Services does and who you serve for anyone who may not be familiar?
Yeah, so we're a technical services company, mainly in the oil and gas industry. So by technical services, we're usually providing support for the majors like Exxon, Hess, Chevron. Uh, Kind of in a nutshell, let's say if they're building a new facility, we have experts that have been in the industry that'll help them get it from engineering design or on paper all the way through steady state and operating and then making money. So what that entails is pre-commissioning or commissioning deliverables, which means having people know what's the quickest way to get all of our product, all of our equipment, get it constructed, get it up and going. And then we have a startup phase where we'll have engineers that help them get it up and run into a steady state. So it's actually producing because that's what it comes down to. It needs to produce its product so they could sell it and make revenue.
Hmm.
And then, you're into operations. The people might have the facility and all that, but they might not have the people who can operate it initially until they recruit. So we're developing training programs, startup procedures. We're even providing resources for that initial 1 or 2 year phase, or all the way through. Some just find it easier to outsource that and just collect revenue. So,
Hmm.
so it's a service company. We're typically about 150 employees, privately held. So I don't know the figures for sure, but we're probably about a $30 million a year company. A lot of our people here versus all the other companies that I've worked at that are similar is that a lot of people here know their stuff. They've worked here on and off. They come back. So there's a lot of longevity here. They've been in business for 30 years. it's probably one of the better companies, or it is the best company I've worked at. In that other ones, they'll see you as a number, or they just get so
Mhm.
big,
Yeah.
they'll easily let you go. And they say we have core values and this and that, but they really mean it here. It's more of a family environment, and
Hmm.
it's a fine line. Work is work and family is family. I usually try to keep them separate, but here it's you kind of muddy it a bit, and it kind of works maybe because of
Hmm.
our size or the culture. But I'm
Yeah.
probably the youngest, not youngest, but the one with the least seniority. I mean, people here work 30, 40 years, or it might, I've met
Wow.
people here that it's their only career, which is unheard of
Wow.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel sorry for them because, well, in one way, they haven't experienced other stuff, but
Of course.
why experience other stuff if you're happy?
Hmm.
But yeah, everyone's different, I guess.
That tells a lot definitely on the company culture, and just it really tells a lot on how good the company cares about, again, their workforce. Because when you have people, yes, who have done their whole career stints in it, but also people you mentioned that have come back, I think says even more measurable, or has such even a louder voice compared to those who have stayed for so long, because people have left and they've been like, this is the best thing I have. Like, this was the best opportunity for me. Like, I'm going back to this. And I think that says a lot just about the company itself.
Yeah, and
Um,
it's something to be mindful or careful of because you don't want to fall into that illusion at another company thinking this is the best and I don't need them, because a lot of places aren't like this. So you do need to move on. You do need to
mhm.
use it as a stepping stone. That's the typical, especially nowadays. But this is an anomaly.
Yeah.
So it's not like that here. I mean, plus, I'm on the tail end of my career, so I always tell everybody I'll retire here if you allow it. So I'm not going anywhere. Plus, it's close to my house. So at lunch,
Right.
I learned about naps. So I take a nap at lunchtime, and I come back. I used to never take naps, make fun of people that took naps, but
They're
I like
helpful.
them now.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
are helpful.
yeah.
So you've been leading growth and development at PTS since 2022, I believe. What have been
Mhm.
some of the most exciting opportunities or wins underneath your leadership so far?
Well, it's being outside of the oil and gas. We've got some that are in the fertilizer or renewable energy, or even some that are uh, investor types. It's just a hodgepodge of people that I've never worked with in the past. So it could be paper and pulp, or just people in early stages that are trying
Hmm.
to get government funding. I might meet 30 people like that that are well off that I would have never met, and they're just so down to earth. And I think that those are the wins that I like, just having never known until I come in. I might have a call with the CEO, and then I'll go down and have a break with the janitor or something. So
That's
those
awesome.
wins, just that
Yeah,
diversity is just awesome. I get along with just about everybody, so it's kind of cool.
that's awesome. So PTS obviously plays a critical role in the oil and energy industry. What trends? Do you have any like trends or shifts that you're seeing most in that sector right now?
Yeah, we're it got difficult after COVID. I don't know if because of politics, the youth coming through. I just saw a drop in opportunity. So of course you start looking different areas. We played with pharmaceuticals for a bit. That's gotten real regulated, so that wasn't too promising for us, even though we've done it in the past.
Hmm.
But the latest shift is power, in data control centers. That's the latest trend. You hear people talking about AI. I use AI for all kinds of things, but as
Hmm.
far as shift where the money's at, it's looking at how can we help data centers pre-commission, commission, and operate. How can we help power companies? It's all tied together. I see that being the next win, and then of course AI. Whatever you can do to
Right.
get into computer chips, computer systems. But I'm pretty basic. It's hard enough to understand a power plant or a data center, let alone AI. So
I
I'll
don't
stick
think
with
anyone
that.
fully I don't think anyone fully understands AI yet.
No, you know what I tell my daughter is, what I like AI. I'll get on Copilot at night while I'm alone, and I'll talk to it, and it talks back, and I like it because it doesn't have no agenda, and it gives me pretty legit answers, and
Right.
it seems like I got a bud, even though it's data and IO points or a script. I got to remind myself this ain't a human.
Yeah.
It's just listening to what I'm saying and building on it. So don't fool yourself.
Right. Um, okay, so I mean, beyond PTS, you also serve as the vice chairman of the TLIM Technology Division Board at University of Houston. I'm curious kind of what inspired you to get involved at the university level.
It's funny how that happened. Actually, it was one of my instructors just called me out of the blue and says, "Mark, I'd like you to be on our board." I'd never been on a board, never thought about it. So next, the following week I was on their board. And I was trying to get all gung ho. I was wanting to go to classes and see if they're doing this right and this. He's like, "Man, slow it down. The board's advisory. We'll meet every 3 months and get your input. Maybe show up for a seminar or
Hmm.
so." But yeah, that's how it happened. I just got a call the blue, and then that led to one board, another board, and it was more about being at a level where we could share knowledge, kind of look at it from this high level and say, I think
Right.
this is whether it's a non-for-profit like Empower, or it's Choice Nation Academy helping out underprivileged youth. You're looking at what they're doing, and as an advisor, you're holding that CEO to up to expectation. Tell them, you need to get your face out of there and start doing this, that, if you want to grow it, or if you don't listen to us. And that's what it is. But yeah, it was just that phone call. I
That's
didn't even know what a
crazy.
board member was. So
And now you
yeah.
are one. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I've actually retired. I told them, I think 6 months ago, I wanted to focus on my youngest daughter, and
Hmm.
just focus on my home. So I kind of told them, I've had fun. Call me when you want, but I did them all on the same day. Told them, just I'm gonna get away from it for a bit and
Right.
watch the grass grow at home. I'm getting old. I like naps.
I like naps. I love that's gotta be on a shirt or a hat. Just I like naps. Just
It
that's the
should
best
be.
phrase right there. Do you
Yeah, like the smiley face or the pet
yeah,
rock, right?
I would buy that shirt, man. I 100% would buy that shirt. Um, do you see a connection between, I guess, education, mentorship, and industry leadership at all since your time at University of Houston?
Initially there it was disjointed in my opinion. Academia was academia, industry was industry, leadership was more, or all that volunteer. It was more a volunteer gig. Nowadays I see there being more bridges.
Hmm.
It might just be my perspective. I may be totally off, but when I was growing up, it seemed compartmentalized. They didn't really cross pollinate too much, and now you're seeing a lot of people doing multiple and kind of connecting the dots. I had a
Interesting.
great teacher. Name was Miss Phil Waite. She was over at the HRD program, and she always told me, as you grow that knowledge, you're getting it in your head, and you're making all these dots. She goes, you'll get to a point where they start connecting, and that's when you kind of get enlightened. And I think that's what I'm seeing. Whether it's not always been that way, and I've just never noticed it. Who knows? But people are
Interesting.
connecting the dots and figuring out how to make
Interesting.
it. If I'm doing those three things, how could I make it advantageous? How could I knock out more than one bird with one stone, type of deal?
Right. Interesting. That's a very interesting perspective from me. I never even thought about it like that, let alone heard it, but it makes sense. The
Yeah.
so moving away from like University of Houston, because I'd love to touch more on, as I've said twice already, I'm big on workforce. I think workforce is important for a lot of different companies. Obviously, you can't succeed without it. So moving into that, a company like PTS clearly can't succeed without strong teams, right? So how important has building the right team been to your success as a leader?
It's been very crucial. I think the diversity is what I see in the right team. Like-minded people, not all yes people, but diverse and are good in their own skill set where you complement each other. I've been at places where everyone's doing the same thing, saying the same thing, and you just get stagnant. So a
Mm,
good team in my mind is you have a leader that's been there, can give boundaries, but yet has the support people that are stronger with him or her, and they all kind of help each other move it forward.
okay.
Uh, so I don't know if I answered your question. I just got off on a tangent there.
No,
I
man, you're
took my
doing
nap, but
you're doing great,
who
man. This
knows?
is this is great. I love these because these podcasts are meant to be authentic, right? Because a lot of people who inevitably will eventually listen to it, uh, these are people who they're trying to figure out where they want to do, whether it's a career, whether they want to start a business, whatever it is. And the reason we have it is because we want them to just see perspectives from every angle. There's so much noise out there right now. There's so many different people telling you to do X, Y, and Z. And in my opinion, the best way to get information is always just from the source. It doesn't matter what the source is, but just from different sources. And that's when you see real perspectives and you see real advice come to fruition. So you're doing great, man. I love this so much. The When I want to go into the next question from that actually is have you noticed any challenges when it comes to like hiring and retention in oil and energy? Because I feel like other companies typically always struggle with churn or trying to keep people involved. Do you guys have that as a problem in oil and energy?
Probably in oil and energy we do, but that's just because we're so diverse and the
Mm,
organizations are so different. I don't have it here because I'm just honest with the people, whether I'm recruiting on LinkedIn or talking to a friend of a friend, I'm honest and blunt up front. I'm
hmm.
telling them, look, I think I've got a client here. I'm going to pitch you trying to do this. What do you think your rate should be? So it's like there's a dialogue, there's a trust. So people know what they're getting into. And I already know is it something they can do or not? Are they the right people? What's it need to be? So it goes to effective communication. A lot of other organizations that I've been like, the failure point is that you don't have that you have limitations. So they might post something, you get 1,000 people, sending resumes, and out of those 1,000 you interview 100. So it's a process. It's very disjointed,
Yeah.
and then you're almost hesitant to make choices because there might be repercussions.
Mm,
So that's a big issue. But what I do, maybe it's kind of reckless, but it works for me. Gets the job done. I'm not telling everybody to do that because we are a small organization. I came from a 40,000 global employee business, so we probably wouldn't do that. You don't have enough time, but
right.
yeah, there's issues. Plus the aging workforce, just understanding the different types of people.
Hmm.
You've got aging, you've got newbies coming through, you've got middle, so it's very diverse. And then you've got all the issues with multimedia, short attention spans.
Of course.
People,
Yeah.
it's just
Big
it's a
thing.
hodgepodge. I talk to my kids, my teens about it. I said, I don't regret none, but I'd hate to be in your shoes. I don't know, it's a mess. I thought it was a
Hmm.
mess when I was growing up. It's a mess now. So good
Oh yeah.
luck.
100%.
I
I
won't be here
agree with you.
forever.
I agree with you, Mark.
Yeah.
It is a
Like
mess.
it's like I taught you everything I could. You're 18. I'm here to support you. Go figure it out. Go stake your claim and, bye. But I love you. Come visit me. Have fun.
So I'm curious. I'm curious because I mean, you guys, you're a company of I think you said roughly 150, right, employees.
Yeah. Yeah.
For you guys, when it comes to like, do you notice any churn within your own organization, or based off you? Most of the time, you see more churn when it comes to um, working with these different industry like oil and gas and whatnot, like doing all the training for them.
Our churn is planned churn. So I don't think out of all the people we've hired, we might have a handful that have intentionally said they're going to leave our company before it's time to leave. So what I
Hmm.
mean by planned churn is that we don't hire 1099, we don't hire contractors. We hire direct employees for the duration of the project. So they're told up front, we're hiring you for this project to do this skill set as a direct employee for this many months. When the
Interesting.
project's over, it's time for you to go home, go draw your unemployment. I'm not going to keep you billable sitting around doing nothing. So
Right.
so our churn is really it's project driven, but it's not because dysfunctional organization or issues we have because it's almost unheard of, which is unreal for people to have be distraught or not want employment here.
Of course. Yeah, no, and
So
then I think that's great too. I think a lot of people, especially in today's job market, a lot of people are stuck on just being left with the company, not knowing when the next project's going to come. I think there's a certain level of
yeah,
being upfront and authentic that people appreciate.
yeah, and something that and I haven't looked it up or I don't know the facts if this is just my gut telling me, but something tells me we have a lot more people than we have probably tangible good jobs for whatever reason.
Mm,
Because it seems like we've got a lot of unemployed people and not as many legit jobs. But I may be
yeah.
totally off, who knows?
No, yeah, no, that's a great assessment from it. I think because I'm in hiring with my current company, and there's I think there's a couple different things that are a part of it. Would happy to dive into that at another time too, because I think that's another conversation in itself. But for you guys, just back on like the workforce side of stuff, what's been, I guess, the biggest bottleneck in building and scaling teams to meet industry demand, or if there are any bottlenecks?
No, there is. So historically, we used to rely on our network.
Mm.
So let's say we typically hire 150 people. We had a network of 400 people. So we'd go to our network, our people, we'd never recruit. We never hired recruiters. We never went to LinkedIn. Well, guess what? Our network of people, they're getting old. So, some are like doing their double trip. They're not coming back. So,
Father time
I've been
catches
hearing
up.
about, yeah, I've been hearing about aging workforce for 15 years, but it's really hitting us. So the bottleneck is now I'm having to go to LinkedIn Recruiter, or I might have to get a headhunter to find resources that have never worked for us,
Hmm.
which is something else that's kind of a little bit of risk, because
Yeah,
historically the people that have worked for us, we're putting our name to the client because we know how they work. There's credibility. 90%, if not all, the ones that are on our project are people that we've had experience with. It wasn't a newbie straight off of recruitment.
hmm,
So now we're starting to experience that. We're having to hire people. So we have to have a robust way of assessing them, making sure they're credible before we even place them in front of a client.
of course. And there's
So
costs
that's
with it
our,
too. I know you guys have big
there
costs when
is.
it comes to, and most people don't realize that side of hiring as well, that it's expensive to place people.
Yeah, and you have to be efficient. You have to find efficiencies because you
Hmm.
can hire a whole HR staff and sit there and get nothing, and you've paid employees 4 or 5, salaries. So yeah, so you have to really be on your toes to
Yeah,
figure out how do I get the right people quick. Do I want someone looking at 100 resumes versus out there managing a job, or do I
right.
want to find the three right resumes, and how do I do that and don't waste no one's time?
Right. No, it makes sense. I love that, man. Moving forward, as we get to like these last few questions here, I love to talk about future stuff, challenges looking ahead. It's wild to me that it is October of 2025. We're almost into 2026. I feel like the year just started. And to be fair, for all the New Year's resolutioners, it really puts you in a perspective of being like, man, like how much did I accomplish this year for my resolution, you know?
Mhm.
Because we're more than halfway
Yeah,
through.
yeah,
But if you
yeah.
had to point to the single biggest challenge, slowing growth, I guess, in your industry right now, whether it's workforce, training, technology, or something else, what do you think that'd be?
I don't have an answer for that. I've never even thought about what would be slowing growth. So I apologize, but I don't have an
No,
answer for that.
hey man,
I
no,
don't mind thinking about it some and getting back to you with the proper answer. I'm not going to make up something off the cuff.
no, of
So let
course,
me think about that if you don't mind.
of course, man. If anything, we can put a comment section on the YouTube video too for us, and when you
Yeah,
do, could throw it in
yeah,
there. I'll pin it at the top of the video there.
sure. Yeah, I will do that. Give me some time. I'll think about that
Of course, man.
because
I
I don't want
appreciate
to
you being
say something and
authentic.
start. Yeah, I don't want to lead people down with saying, "Well, this is what Mark was." Not that my voice is credible, but let me think about that and then give you something
Sure.
serious versus something just made up off the top of my head.
Of course, Mark. So next question I have on it is this is more related to PTS, but like as you guys, look ahead into the next few years, do you have a top priority for PTS or a few priorities you guys are looking at for the next year?
If it was up to me, it'd be doubling the business and getting as diverse as possible and being able to replicate it.
Hmm.
Get it to where everyone understands what everyone's doing and just grow it as much as we can and keep on doing what we're doing. That would be my goal.
Love that.
Um,
And then, so
yep.
this is my final question for this, and this is one very curious to hear your answer for because this is mainly for like executives, maybe future leaders, people who want to, kids who want to get into leadership roles or be in a position like yourself. What's one piece of advice you would leave them about building organizations that you think last?
This is one piece of advice for everything, whether you're playing with blocks, building a skyscraper, being a millionaire, whatever. We live one day at a time. Do good. Get that mindset in everything you're doing. You're going to be challenged with all kinds of challenges. You've got to not listen to that ghost, that demon, whatever you want to call it. You got that good and that bad. So you know when you're doing bad. You know when you're
Hmm.
doing right. You got to practice listening to that right voice and actually implementing it. And the times you don't and you screw up, forgive yourself and get some sleep and try it all over again and bounce your head, but never give up and always do good in everything.
Dude, I'm not even kidding. I actually got goosebumps from that. That is because every time I always ask
Ah,
this question, like there's always not that these answers aren't good from other people, but it's always a straightforward, like, like work hard or focus on these skill sets and whatnot. But I think at the end of the day, like your answer was very human. And I think at the end of the day, a lot of people need to realize that we're all humans. We mess up. As long as you can, find accountability in it, realize you're not perfect, and you can grow and learn from that and eventually make yourself better. And there's always another day for you to, you can go get some sleep, like you said, wake up the next day and start over. I think that was a great answer, man. Anything you want to add on to that?
Yeah, just that I was my own worst enemy most of my life in that I drove myself hard, but I don't regret because it made me push me to where I need to be at. But then you need to also understand that if you just continue to beat yourself up and call it that you're growing, you're going to pound yourself into the ground. So you got to have balance. You got to forgive yourself and understand you are human. You're not, you're not a myth. You can't walk on water. You can't make wine. You're not sinless. So quit trying to push yourself to be what you're not, but
Right.
yet push yourself. Don't just be lazy and watch the grass grow like I
Sure.
do on the weekends. But yeah, that's all I would add to that. Just be balanced.
Awesome. Well, Mark, thank you again for sharing your story. Is it all right with you if for like YouTube videos and in the podcast description, if anyone does want to get connected with you, I can throw in your LinkedIn in there.
Yep. Do as you wish. It's all yours. I have no issues, no nothing. Do whatever you want with it.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you again for sharing your story from, leading PTS to shaping future leaders at the University of Houston, even though I know you want to focus more at home now, watch some of the grass grow a little bit, take some more naps as you deserve, man. This conversation, I
Yeah.
think, really highlighted how strategy and people come together for growth and impact. So thank you again for everyone listening. Thank you for joining us on the Founders Table. Feel free to, hit the like button and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time.